logically. Venus. Got a T-square with Mars, Uranus, and Venus. We talked about this yesterday. Venus will be moving deeper into the 10th house in Scorpio. That'll be interesting. I wonder if this will take place with the Scorpio midheaven. In order for that to happen, we're going to have to delay this even more. So the ascendant is at 25 Sag. We're getting very close to the galactic center. If the vote does take place with Sagittarius on the ascendant, then one might be able to make a case, that justice is being served in a very Sagittarian sort of way, high-minded, law. The longer this goes, the closer that the ascendant moves towards Capricorn. And I still believe with the Capricorn ascendant, especially with the Capricorn ascendant, that Kavanaugh will be confirmed. But if Saturn goes into that 12th house, we're having a different dialogue. Very different dialogue. It's getting very close to the ascendant now. Let's see what's happening in that room. More people hanging out by those mirrored doors. Look, there's those mirrored doors. They're like portals, aren't they? You open the mirrored door and you step through into another realm of existence. Let's see some of these comments we have here. What is the wait? What is the wait? What is the wait? What the F is going on? Yeah, we're 42 minutes, actually 12 minutes past the actual time for a vote. The natives are restless. At least on the internet. They're restless. But the majority of the people, the majority of the senators are not in the judiciary chamber right now. The majority of these chairs are empty. So something is going on behind the scenes. There's some deals being made. The ascendant has now moved to 26 Sagittarius. Within one more degree, it'll be conjunct with galactic center. The midheaven is at 17 Libra. Saturn lurching closer and closer to the ascendant. More milling around. What was once silent is now slowly rising audibly. People having mute conversations with one another. Background noise. Lindsey Graham, all 5'6" of him, sitting down. Now Grassley gets up. I think he has to go eat some crickets backstage. Doesn't Grassley just look like an old reptile? Grassley and Feinstein, just old reptiles. Let me check in with some of the other sources here. Give me 1 second. Let's get into Twitter. Let's see what's breaking on Twitter right now. What's happening on Twitter? What's going on Twitter? Let me get into my other computer. See if we can get some insight, instantaneous insight. This is Robert Phoenix. You're listening to Friday FARcast. Wow, what happened there? Did that get shut down? Interesting. All right, so apparently I've been talking into a void for the last half an hour. God, I hate that. I hate that. I opened up the chart for the chart of the moment in Washington, D.C. We checked that out. And what's happening with that now? It's a 27 Sagittarius. So by the time they get this vote in, the rising sign will be Capricorn, and we'll have Saturn on the ascendant. It's fitting in some ways for that to occur. All right, let's get into this. I'm going to play the interview with Steve and Krys, and I'll come back in the show and let you know what's happening in Washington, D.C. with confirmation of the vote. All right, we're back for our third and final installment on the life and times of John Dee and the esoteric influence on the history of the United States of America. We'll be introducing a new subject today, as well as covering or recovering or going back and looking at John Dee and the Dee Tower. Francis Bacon, who is theoretically a spiritual ancestor to some extent with Dee. There's also a break in the tradition with Bacon, which we'll talk about with my good friends, Steve and Krys Crimi of Logo Sophia. What's going on, guys?
Hi, Robert.
Hello, Robert.
It's nice
good to see you again. Good to be back.
Absolutely. You know, getting a lot of positive feedback on our little trip down the memory hole. And in fact, I have to share a story with you. I don't think she'll mind so much if I share this story. But a friend of mine who's a pretty well-known like chemtrail activist, and she's very concerned about the planet and kind of knows the score, what's going on with the shit show, and she's spent a lot of energy. And this woman's she's a dynamo, 0 degrees Taurus. She went to Paris with a bunch of other people, for the climate change and the Paris Accords, and they were there to talk to people about geoengineering. I mean, this is how committed this person is, right? And the net result of that was a big fat 0. So I think due to the fact that she's gone through all these conventional channels in order to precipitate some kind of change, she got very, very frustrated. And she heard our conversation about Dee and the angels and all that stuff. And she decided that, of course, she herself was very, very interested in Dee. And she thought to herself, you know what? Maybe I need a little outside assistance in order to make some change on this planet, right? Huh. So she actually reached out to me and she said, can you look at my chart and tell me if this is a good thing to do, based on this Dee model. And I'm not going to get into what we talked about, but I just thought it was interesting that somebody was, fired up by this and said, look, I'm tired of being, a very good human and doing all the right things in order to affect change, and nothing's happening. Well, maybe I'll check out kind of a magical technology in order to do something like that. So we might have opened a can of worms here.
Interesting. And, that is, in fact, that is what pretty much what Dee himself did. He had kind of reached the end of book learning, and he decided he needed to go further to get, to get some into the spiritual realms, to get more knowledge and get a direct download from the divine. And we after all our 2 hours talking last time, there certainly weren't any conclusions as to, who those angels were and what they were about. But it's just the whole thing is just a fascinating story. So I hope that she does get help, because it's a wicked issue. It really is, and it's affecting everybody. It affects everyone's health. It affects everyone's breathing. We see people getting sick all the time from chemtrails.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, they're back here again today. So they show up all the time in the fall. They give us a bit of a reprieve in the summer, and we'll get them from now until probably I'd say March, early April. And
you mean you actually have it seasonally?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So my theory is, this is my theory. My theory is they go north south. So when it's fall winter, they're in the southern part of the hemisphere, right, south of the equator, and then they flip it, and then they'll come up here during fall winter, get a lot more cloud cover. People have less light; they're more likely to get sick during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Systems are
the D3, vitamin D3.
Yeah, all that stuff. So
they
time it accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't. The last time we saw him here was just before Florence hit. So that's part of the whole engineering deal, I guess, with that. But and we were lucky. We just basically got 3 inches of rain and very little wind. So we're pretty thankful about that, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the coast, I think, is still putting itself together.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Especially the hog lagoons.
And broken coal slurry dams from Duke Energy, things like that that are obviously devastating to the environment and all over the place. So,
but yeah, interesting with contacting the angels. It seems like in this particular time of the Kali Yuga that it's very challenging and very difficult to break through to the spiritual realms. And so your friend's story about, should I do the John Dee thing and try to contact the angels? Maybe we need some technology.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think that that this is an absolute option on our part in order to affect some kind of change on this planet that is positive, because it's being used against us all the time anyway.
Yes, it is.
Right. So there are occult technologies that are turned against us constantly. Mm-hmm. So why not take it up a notch and
make it beneficial?
Bring some real high-powered magic, real high-powered celestial and cosmic magic into the mix.
White magic.
Yeah,